On the evening of July 3rd, 1940, British naval guns turned toward an unthinkable target. Not the Nazi Germany, not the fascist Italy, but France. An ally that stood beside Britain for months now faced destruction at British hands. The order came directly from British Prime Minister himself, Winston Churchill. By nightfall, more than 1,000 French sailors would be dead. History would remember this decision as Operation Catapult. Why did British attack its own ally? Was this an act of betrayal? Let us find the answers in this video. And before continue watching, hit that subscribe button now. To understand why this happened, we must return to Europe in the summer of 1940. Nazi Germany's blitzkrieg tears through Belgium, the Netherlands, and France with shocking speed. In just 6 weeks, the French army collapses and Paris falls. On June 22nd, France is forced to sign an armistice with Adolf Hitler. The armistice was signed near Compiegne in northern France. It was in this place the 1918 armistice was signed between the Allies and Germany to end the World War I. This 1918 armistice was signed on a railway wagon. Hitler moved this exact railway wagon to the exact location where the 1918 armistice was signed. Hitler chose this wagon deliberately as a symbolic revenge. Britain now stands alone against the Axis powers. But hidden within France's defeat is a danger far greater than armies, the French Navy. At the time, France possesses the fourth largest navy in the world. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and submarines spread across Europe, Africa, and the Mediterranean. As per the armistice, Germany promises not to seize the French fleet that are positioned in the French colonies outside of France. But Winston Churchill is not ready to believe them. Britain's situation is desperate now. Invasion by Nazi Germany is a real possibility. Churchill has been Prime Minister for just less than 2 months then. Churchill faces an impossible choice: to trust a defeated France operating under German pressure, or to destroy the fleet of a former ally before Hitler can claim it.
Okay, I've called. I should be clear.
Churchill chooses survival. The plan is named Operation Catapult. Operation Catapult is launched simultaneously across the world. In British ports at Plymouth and Portsmouth, French ships are seized quietly with a very little revolt. In Alexandria, negotiations prevented bloodshed and it was a peaceful surrender. But in 2 other places, the compromise fails. One at Mers-el-Kébir, a French naval base near Oran in North Africa, and at Dakar in French West Africa. These 2 are the home to some of France's most powerful warships. Around 7 to 8 am of July 3rd, 1940, a powerful British force named Force H sets off from Gibraltar and arrives offshore of the Mers-el-Kébir, commanded by Admiral Sir James Somerville. Somerville delivers an ultimatum to the French commander, Vice Admiral Marcel Bruno Gensol. The French are given 4 choices: sail to British ports and continue to fight from British side, sail to neutral port and be interned, or demilitarize your ships, or scuttle the ships. Gensol delayed the negotiations, considering dealing with the lower-ranked British Captain Holland as an insult to him. Gensol insisted France would never hand over ships to Germany and hence delayed negotiations, believing that Britain would never attack them. Talks drag on and time runs out. By the time Britain received an intel that French reinforcements are arriving from Toulon, and that Somerville had to attack quickly. At 5:55 pm, the order is given. British guns open fire. Shells tear into the anchored French fleet. The battleship Bretagne explodes and capsizes within minutes. Nearly 1,000 sailors die instantly. Fire, smoke, and chaos engulf the harbour. In less than 15 minutes, the French fleet at Mers-el-Kébir is crippled. The world is stunned. France is furious. Diplomatic relations collapse. Churchill has clearly sent a message. Britain will fight on regardless the cost. Across the Atlantic, for the first time, American leaders believe Britain will never surrender. Was Operation Catapult a betrayal or a brutal act of necessity? History remains divided. Yet, one truth is undeniable. On that day, 3rd of July 1940, Britain chose survival over sentiment. Now, dear viewers, Operation Catapult is not over. It opens a new theatre in west of Africa. This operation is giving a new lead to another operation. Thus, the war has entered a new unforgiving phase, and we have got many questions to answer. There was one other ship that was troubling Churchill, the Richelieu. The most modern and powerful French ship which is stationed at Dakar. On July 7th, British aircraft carrier HMS Hermes arrived off West Africa coast near Dakar. On July 8th, around 5 am, Hermes launches an aerial strike on Richelieu. Richelieu was attacked by swordfish torpedo bombers. There was no involvement of any major fleet, and it was only an aerial surgical strike on Richelieu. Thus, Operation Catapult comes to an end. Even though it was between France and Britain at surface level, but at strategic and geopolitical level, it is far more than that. It is all about securing sea lanes. If Hitler takes control of Dakar from the Vichy France, the South Atlantic sea lane will become inaccessible. Churchill needs to secure Atlantic immediately, for which securing Dakar is strategic. It is no more about taking the ships. It is now strategic control over the oceans. Thus, Churchill announces Operation Menace. British warships, along with Free French forces, arrive at Dakar. These Free French forces were led by Charles de Gaulle, who left to London getting infuriated by French decision to surrender to Germany. Instead of opening fire, they sent envoys. De Gaulle hoped the colony would rally to free France. Leaflets were dropped and radio appeals were broadcast. He believed the defenders would switch sides, but they did not. Without warning, the Vichy French forces opened fire. They made their decision to attack. British battleships Berham and Resolution moved into range. They returned fire. Shells screamed through the harbour. Smoke swallowed the port. The Atlantic was shaken. The battle continued for 3 days. British cruisers took heavy damage. Britain withdrew. The Operation Menace was failed. For de Gaulle, it was a humiliation. He had expected French brothers to join him. Instead, they fired on him. One thing was clear. France was deeply divided from within. As doubted by Churchill, 2 years later, at Toulon, Hitler decided to take control of French navy. But the French scuttled their own ships before they could go into Hitler's hands. Thus, the French had kept their promise that they would never allow their ships to go into Hitler's hands. If that is the case, does Operation Catapult has any meaning at all? Should Churchill have believed France's promise? The insecurity was at its peak. And this insecurity resulted in killing of over 1,000 French lives at Mers-el-Kébir. What are your thoughts? Comment below and do not forget to subscribe the Dialectics.